American muscle cars have always carried a reputation for raw power, unfiltered performance, and straight-line dominance. But some models went so far that they could actually outrun the world's most celebrated supercars of their time. From lightweight factory drag specials to street-legal monsters with racing engines under the hood, these machines proved that Detroit didn't just build fast cars. It built supercar slayers that could humble Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and Porsches at the drag strip or a stoplight showdown. Number 25. 1999 Shelby Series 1. The 1999 Shelby Series 1 stands apart in muscle car history because it was the only car Carroll Shelby ever designed and built entirely from the ground up. Unlike the Cobra, which was an Anglo-American hybrid, or his work with Ford and Dodge, this was Shelby's personal vision of what a modern American performance car could be at the end of the 20th century. At its heart was a 4.0-liter Oldsmobile Aurora V8, an unlikely source for a supercar killer, producing around 320 horsepower. Yet paired with the Series 1's featherweight aluminum chassis and carbon fiber body, the car tipped the scales at just over 2,600 pounds, giving it a power-to-weight ratio that put it right into exotic territory. Performance numbers told the real story. The Series 1 rocketed from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.4 seconds and stormed through the quarter mile in 12.8 seconds. To put that into perspective, in the late 1990s, a Ferrari F355, considered one of the sharpest European supercars of its time, needed about 4.7 seconds to reach 60. The Porsche 911 Turbo of the era managed a mid-4-second run as well. The Shelby, with its understated Oldsmobile V8, was quicker off the line, proving that American muscle could still trump exotic refinement when it came to raw acceleration. The car wasn't perfect. Fit and finish issues plagued early examples, and production was painfully slow, with fewer than 300 units built. But those flaws didn't matter the first time you floored the throttle. The visceral rush of torque, the unfiltered roar of that V8, and the sense of sheer lightness made the Series 1 feel more alive than many of its high-priced rivals. It was Carroll Shelby's last great act of rebellion, showing that even at the dawn of a new millennium, Detroit's formula of displacement, torque, and lightweight could humble Europe's finest. The 1999 Shelby Series 1 was never about luxury appointments or high-tech gadgets. It was a purist car, built for one reason only: speed. And in straight-line acceleration, it succeeded in being exactly what its creator intended: a modern-day Cobra that could remind the world that American muscle, even dressed in carbon fiber and aerospace-grade aluminum, was still the fastest weapon on the street. Number 24. 1997 Dodge Viper GTS. The 1997 Dodge Viper GTS was the moment Chrysler proved that brute American engineering could go head-to-head with the most prestigious European supercars of its time. Introduced as the second generation of the Viper, the GTS Coupe refined the raw roadster formula without losing the savagery that made the first Viper infamous. Under its long hood sat an 8.0-liter V10, producing 450 horsepower and a pavement-wrenching 490 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers alone were shocking, but the way the Viper delivered them, instant, unrelenting, and unapologetic, made it unlike anything else on the road in the late 1990s. Performance was staggering. Independent tests recorded 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 4 seconds flat, and the quarter mile flew by in just over 12 seconds at nearly 120 miles per hour. That meant the Viper GTS wasn't just keeping up with cars like the Ferrari 550 Maranello or the Lamborghini Diablo, it was beating them off the line. At a time when those exotics were celebrated as the pinnacle of speed and luxury, the Viper did it with a fraction of the price tag and a total absence of electronic safety nets. No traction control, no stability control, and no anti-lock brakes in its earliest form. It was raw muscle distilled into fiberglass and steel. Visually, the GTS stood out with its now legendary double-bubble roof, a nod to endurance racing helmets, and wide, aggressive body lines that turned heads wherever it went. It wasn't subtle, and it wasn't meant to be. The Viper looked every bit as outrageous as it was fast, and it demanded respect both on the road and at the drag strip. Unlike European competitors that chased refinement, the Dodge's appeal was in its refusal to compromise. It was a car that celebrated danger and rewarded bravery. The 1997 Viper GTS cemented the legend of the American muscle supercar by proving that Detroit could build something that not only matched, but often exceeded the performance of hand-built Italian exotics. In straight-line acceleration, the Viper was a venomous predator, striking quicker than the so-called thoroughbreds of Europe. It embodied the American spirit of unrestrained horsepower, a rolling reminder that sometimes the simplest recipe, massive displacement, and minimal driver aids creates the most intoxicating results. Number 23. 1991 GMC Cyclone. The 1991 GMC Cyclone was one of the most shocking vehicles ever to wear a muscle badge because it didn't look like a supercar killer at all. On the outside, it was just a compact Sonoma pickup, painted in menacing black and rolling on modest-sized wheels. But beneath that unassuming exterior lay a technological combination that turned the performance world upside down. GMC engineers fitted the Cyclone with a turbocharged 4.3-liter V6, producing 280 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque, and paired it with a full-time all-wheel drive system. In an era when most American muscle relied on big displacement and rear-wheel drive, the Cyclone's formula was revolutionary. The results were jaw-dropping. Independent tests recorded 0 to 60 in just 4.3 seconds, making the Cyclone quicker than any Corvette sold that year. It stormed through the quarter mile in 13.4 seconds at over 100 miles per hour, numbers that flat-out embarrassed many European supercars. In fact, Car and Driver famously pitted a Cyclone against a Ferrari 348. And the little black truck from Detroit outran the Italian exotic both to 60 and through the quarter. That comparison cemented the Cyclone's reputation as one of the greatest supercar slayers America had ever built. Part of what made the Cyclone so potent was its ability to launch hard and consistently. Where traditional muscle cars spun their rear tires into smoke, the all-wheel drive system clawed at the pavement, turning all that turbocharged torque into relentless forward motion. It wasn't just fast, it was shockingly accessible, delivering world-class acceleration at a time when most buyers never expected such performance from a pickup. Its plain styling only added to the mystique, because unless you knew what you were looking at, it seemed impossible that this little truck was quicker than the best Ferrari of the day. Production was limited, with only around 3,000 built, making the Cyclone both rare and legendary. For a brief moment in the early 1990s, GMC managed to create the world's fastest accelerating production vehicle, and they did it with a turbo V6 inside a compact truck. It redefined what American muscle could look like, proving that power, technology, and traction could work together to embarrass the world's finest exotics. The 1991 GMC Cyclone remains one of the most unlikely but unforgettable supercar killers in American history. Number 22. 1990 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1. The 1990 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1 marked a turning point in American performance history, earning the nickname King of the Hill for good reason. At a time when many critics doubted that an American car could rival the sophistication of European supercars, Chevrolet introduced a Corvette unlike any that had come before. The centerpiece was its radical new power plant, a 5.7-liter LT5 V8 developed in partnership with Lotus and assembled by Mercury Marine. With dual overhead cams, 4 valves per cylinder, and exotic engineering features, this all-aluminum engine produced 375 horsepower, numbers that put it in the same league as Ferrari and Porsche. Performance was nothing short of astonishing. In independent testing, the ZR1 reached 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.4 seconds and covered the quarter mile in 12.8 seconds at nearly 114 miles per hour. These figures placed it ahead of many European exotics, including the Ferrari 348 and the Porsche 911 Turbo of the era. What made it even more remarkable was the price. While Ferraris cost more than twice as much, the Corvette ZR1 delivered equal or better acceleration at a fraction of the cost. For enthusiasts, it was a stunning reminder that American muscle was alive and evolving. Beyond raw numbers, the ZR1 carried an aura of dominance. It had a widened rear track, distinctive convex taillights, and subtle badging that set it apart from the standard Corvette. Those who knew understood immediately that this was no ordinary C4. It was the Corvette engineered to challenge Europe on its own terms. And yet, unlike its exotic rivals, the ZR1 retained a distinctly American attitude. Big torque, high straight-line speed, and a willingness to unleash brute force when called upon. The impact of the 1990s ZR1 was profound. It proved that Detroit could combine advanced engineering with old-school muscle philosophy, creating a car that didn't just compete with, but often outran the best supercars in a straight line. Owners quickly discovered that it was just as at home at the drag strip as it was on a European test circuit. In the golden era of supercars, the Corvette ZR1 carved its own path, reminding the world that America could still build a car that commanded respect. More than 3 decades later, the legend of the ZR1 endures as one of the purest expressions of American muscle meeting world-class speed. Number 21. 1980 NI Pontiac Firebird Trans Am Turbo 20th Anniversary. The 1989 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am Turbo was a car born to celebrate 2 milestones: the 20th anniversary of the Trans Am and Pontiac's role as the official pace car of the Indianapolis 500. But this wasn't just a cosmetic special edition, it was one of the most explosive performers of the decade, a car that could out-accelerate many supercars of its day. Instead of using a traditional V8, Pontiac engineers borrowed the turbocharged 3.8-liter V6 from the legendary Buick Grand National GNX and installed it under the hood of the sleek Trans Am. With 250 horsepower officially quoted, though in reality closer to 300, this small displacement turbo engine gave the Trans Am one of the most shocking performance resumes of any American car of the late 1980s. What made the Turbo Trans Am so special was the way it combined lightweight F-body agility with brutal turbocharged acceleration. Independent tests showed it could sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.6 seconds and devour the quarter mile in 13.4 seconds at just over 100 miles per hour. To put that into perspective, the Ferrari, Testarossa, and Lamborghini Countach, icons of European speed, needed closer to 5 seconds to reach 60. In other words, Pontiac's Special Edition Firebird was faster in real-world acceleration than some of the most desirable supercars in the world. Its role as the official pace car of the 1989 Indy 500 only elevated its legend. Unlike most pace cars, which were sometimes modified behind the scenes, the Turbo Trans Am required no special upgrades to meet the demands of leading the field at Indianapolis. The car in showroom form was already capable of the speed and stability necessary for the job. Buyers who took one home essentially owned a piece of Indy pace car history combined with the heart of a drag strip champion. Production numbers were limited, with only 1,555 units built, making the Turbo Trans Am, as rare as it was, fast. Today, it remains a cult classic, remembered as one of the last great performance cars of the Pontiac brand. Its stealthy looks, turbocharged grunt, and ability to embarrass Italian exotics in a stoplight showdown made it one of the most memorable American muscle cars of the 1980s. More than just an anniversary special, the Turbo Trans Am proved that American ingenuity could deliver supercar speed in an unexpected package. Number 20. 1987 Buick GNX. The 1987 Buick GNX was a car that rewrote the rulebook on what a muscle car could be, earning a reputation as one of the greatest sleepers of all time. At first glance, it looked like nothing more than a sinister black Buick Regal coupe, devoid of flashy spoilers or exotic styling. But under that understated exterior lurked a turbocharged monster that would embarrass some of the most expensive supercars of its day. Buick had already been making waves with its Grand National, but the GNX, developed in collaboration with McLaren Performance Technologies, was the ultimate expression of turbocharged American performance. The car was powered by a 3.8-liter turbocharged V6 producing 276 horsepower and a staggering 360 pound-feet of torque. While those numbers might seem modest by modern standards, in the 1980s they were astonishing, especially in a car weighing under 3,500 pounds. The torque hit almost instantly thanks to a specially tuned turbo and intercooler, giving the GNX explosive launches that left competitors stunned. Independent testing confirmed the GNX's reputation. It ripped from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.7 seconds and blasted through the quarter mile in 13.4 seconds at over 100 miles per hour. To put that in perspective, the Ferrari Testarossa, one of the era's most celebrated supercars, needed around 5.2 seconds to hit 60 and ran the quarter in the high 13s. In other words, a Buick luxury coupe was quicker in a straight line than a hand-built Italian exotic costing several times more. Even the Corvette, Chevrolet's flagship sports car, had to accept that the GNX was faster. The GNX was more than just numbers, though. Its stealthy appearance made it the ultimate sleeper. Most people on the street never expected a boxy Buick to unleash such ferocity. The blacked-out paint, unique fender flares, and discreet badging hinted at something special, but only those in the know understood what they were facing. When the light turned green, the GNX delivered a lesson in turbocharged muscle that left European Exotica scrambling in its wake. Only 547 examples of the GNX were built, making it both rare and legendary. For many enthusiasts, it marked the last great hurrah of the muscle car era before emissions and technology changed the landscape. It proved that brute American performance didn't always have to come from a big block V8. It could come from a turbo V6 tuned to perfection. The 1987 Buick GNX will forever be remembered as a car that outpaced the world's best, and did so with quiet menace. Number 19. 1973 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am SD 455. By the early 1970s, the golden era of muscle cars was fading fast under the weight of emissions restrictions, insurance surcharges, and the oil crisis. Most high-performance engines were being strangled, and quarter-mile times slowed dramatically. Yet in 1973, Pontiac delivered a defiant final statement with the Firebird Trans Am SD 455, one of the last true heavy hitters of the classic muscle car age. The SD stood for Super Duty, and it wasn't just a name, it was a badge of honor, representing hand-built engines that were more race-spec than street-legal. Under its shaker hood lived a 455 cubic inch V8 that was conservatively rated at 310 horsepower net, but in truth produced closer to 370. Even more impressive was its torque output, which easily crested 500 pound-feet, giving the car incredible straight-line thrust. While other muscle cars were being neutered, Pontiac's SD 455 was a throwback to an era when displacement and raw engineering still ruled the road. The numbers spoke volumes. Independent tests clocked the Trans Am SD 455 at 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.5 seconds, with the quarter mile falling in the mid-13-second range at over 100 miles per hour. To put that in context, a 1973 Porsche 911 struggled to match those times, while even a Ferrari Dino was slower in a straight line. The Pontiac's brute force gave American drivers the chance to own a car that could embarrass European exotics, despite the tightening performance climate. Visually, the SD 455 looked every bit the part of a street warrior. Its aggressive bodywork, shaker hood scoop, and bold Trans Am graphics made it unmistakable. Yet beneath the show was genuine go, and enthusiasts quickly recognized the SD 455 as something special. In fact, it was one of the very few engines of the period designed with durability in mind, featuring reinforced components that could withstand serious racing abuse. Only a small number of SD 455 Trans Ams were ever produced, adding to their mystique and value today. But more than rarity, the car represented resistance. It proved that even in 1973, American muscle still had the will to fight. The Pontiac Firebird Trans Am SD 455 was not just fast for its time, it was a proud reminder that Detroit's muscle could still run with, and often ahead of, the so-called supercars from overseas. Number 18. 1970 Plymouth HEMI Cuda. The 1970 Plymouth HEMI Cuda has become one of the most iconic names in the entire history of American muscle cars, and for good reason. It represented the moment when Chrysler decided to put its most fearsome engine into its brand new pony car platform, creating a legend that was both feared on the streets and revered on the drag strip. The HEMI engine had already earned fame in NASCAR and professional drag racing, but in the compact E-body of the CUDA, it transformed into one of the most formidable street machines of its era. Under the hood sat the fabled 426 cubic inch HEMI V8, rated at 425 horsepower and nearly 500 pound-feet of torque. While those numbers were impressive on paper, the reality was even more staggering. Most HEMIs made well over 500 horsepower when tuned properly. With its dual 4-barrel carburetors and high-compression design, the HEMI was never meant for casual driving. It was loud, temperamental, and expensive, but it delivered straight-line performance that rivaled or even eclipsed the most exotic cars in the world. In performance testing, the HEMI CUDA consistently ran the quarter-mile in the mid-13-second range at over 100 miles per hour on stock tires. With better traction, magazine testers and drag racers pushed them into the low 12s, making the CUDA a true factory rocket. Acceleration from 0 to 60 miles per hour took around 5.8 seconds, which meant that in 1970, a Plymouth Pony car could run alongside or even outrun a Ferrari Daytona or a Maserati Ghibli. For a car that cost a fraction of what those European exotics demanded, the value in sheer speed was unmatched. Beyond performance, the HEMI CUDA carried an aura of menace. Its aggressive styling, optional shaker hood scoop, and muscular stance made it instantly recognizable as something special. For enthusiasts, owning one wasn't just about having a fast car. It was about possessing one of the rarest and most respected muscle cars ever built. In fact, production numbers for HEMI CUDAs were very limited, making them prized collector's items decades later, with some examples commanding 7-figure prices at auctions. The 1970 HEMI CUDA was not a car for the faint of heart. It was difficult to handle, expensive to maintain, and thirsty at the pump, but none of that mattered to those who understood what it represented. It was the very essence of American muscle: raw displacement, uncompromising power, and the ability to humiliate far more refined cars in a straight-line showdown. Today, it remains one of the purest examples of Detroit's philosophy of building supercar slayers for the streets. Number 17. 1970 Oldsmobile 442 W30 455. The 1970 Oldsmobile 442 W30 represented the pinnacle of performance for a brand that was often associated with luxury and refinement. While Oldsmobile built a reputation on smooth, comfortable cars, the 442 W30 proved that it could also build a machine capable of terrifying straight-line speed. Introduced as the ultimate package in the 442 lineup, the W30 combined Oldsmobile's biggest and most powerful engine with lightweight features and a host of performance-oriented upgrades. At its heart was the massive 455 cubic inch V8, rated at 370 horsepower and an astonishing 500 pound-feet of torque. Unlike some of its competitors that inflated numbers, Oldsmobile's rating was conservative. The real-world output was often much higher. The engine came with special W30 components, including a hotter camshaft, a low-restriction air cleaner, and functional ram air induction through twin scoops in its fiberglass hood. All of these details meant the W30 wasn't just a luxury muscle car, it was one of the fastest accelerating machines of its day. Performance testing proved the point. The W30 blasted from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 5.7 seconds and ran the quarter mile in 13.9 seconds at over 100 miles per hour. To put that in perspective, during 1970, cars like the Ferrari 365, GTB4, Daytona, and Maserati Ghibli were considered cutting-edge European supercars, yet the Oldsmobile could hold its own against them in a straight line. The fact that an American mid-size coupe weighing nearly 4,000 pounds could accelerate so ferociously was a testament to the brute strength of its big block V8. Despite its muscle credentials, the W30 did not abandon Oldsmobile's tradition of refinement. It offered comfortable seating, a relatively upscale interior, and smoother ride quality than many of its bare-bones competitors. This balance made it unique. It wasn't just a drag strip terror, but also a car you could drive every day without punishment. It was the rare combination of brawn and civility, appealing to enthusiasts who wanted speed without sacrificing comfort. The 1970 Oldsmobile 442 W30 remains one of the greatest examples of how Detroit fused muscle and luxury into a single package. It was quick enough to embarrass European exotics and stoplight duels while still offering the smoothness Oldsmobile customers expected. In many ways, the W30 represented the muscle car at its most mature stage, still brutally fast, yet refined enough to remind the world that America could do more than just build raw, uncompromising machines. Number 16, 1970 Buick GSX Stage 1 455. The 1970 Buick GSX Stage 1 was the car that proved muscle didn't always have to come wrapped in bare-bones packages. Buick had long been known for building smooth, upscale vehicles, but with the GSX Stage 1, the brand shocked the performance world by creating one of the most powerful and quickest American muscle cars ever produced. It was a wolf in sheep's clothing, luxurious enough to carry the Buick name, but under the hood lurked a monster that could embarrass Ferraris, Porsches, and Maseratis in a straight-line duel. The heart of the GSX Stage 1 was its massive 455 cubic inch V8, officially rated at 360 horsepower, but the real story was torque, an astonishing 510 pound-feet, the highest rating of any muscle car of the era. This meant that the Buick didn't just accelerate, it erupted forward with a tidal wave of thrust that few drivers had ever experienced. Even though Buick's conservative numbers downplayed its true output, owners quickly discovered that the Stage 1 could easily outrun cars, boasting much higher price tags and international prestige. Performance figures told the tale. With a properly tuned Stage 1, magazines recorded 0 to 60 miles per hour in just over 5 seconds, and quarter-mile times in the mid-13-second range at more than 100 miles per hour. Those numbers put it in direct contention with European exotics like the Ferrari 365, GTB4 Daytona, and the Lamborghini Miura. What made the GSX truly impressive was that it achieved these feats while carrying the weight and comfort of a full-sized American coupe. The GSX wasn't shy about its intentions either. It came only in bold Saturn, yellow, or Apollo white paint schemes with wild stripes, a rear spoiler, hood tachometer, and aggressive stance that screamed performance. While many Buicks of the day blended quietly into suburban driveways, the GSX demanded attention the moment it rolled into view. Still, it retained Buick's tradition of refinement, making it as comfortable cruising on the highway as it was tearing down a drag strip. The 1970 Buick GSX Stage 1 stands as one of the most underrated yet devastatingly effective muscle cars ever produced. It combined brute torque, blistering acceleration, and an unmistakable visual presence with a level of comfort most muscle cars lack. In straight-line performance, it didn't just compete with the best supercars of its era, it often beat them. Today, it remains a shining example of how Buick briefly stepped out of its comfort zone and created a machine that lived up to the phrase "Supercar Slayer." Number 15, 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS 454 LS6. The 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS 454 LS6 is often described as the king of the muscle cars, and for good reason. At a time when Detroit automakers were locked in a horsepower war, Chevrolet unleashed a car that embodied the very peak of raw, big-block performance. The LS6 version of the Chevelle SS was not just another trim option, it was a fire-breathing monster designed to dominate the streets and the drag strip. At its core sat the legendary 454 cubic inch LS6 V8, officially rated at 450 horsepower and a staggering 500 pound-feet of torque. This was the most powerful factory engine Chevrolet had ever placed in a production car at the time, and enthusiasts quickly discovered that the real numbers were likely even higher. Equipped with a Holley 4-barrel carburetor, forged internals, and high-compression pistons, the LS6 was engineered to deliver maximum acceleration without apology. It was a car built around the idea that brute strength could solve any challenge. The performance numbers backed up its fearsome reputation. Independent road tests recorded 0 to 60 miles per hour in as little as 5.4 seconds, and the quarter mile was dispatched in just over 13 seconds at more than 108 miles per hour. For 1970, those times were nothing short of staggering. The Chevelle SS LS6 could hold its own against European supercars like the Ferrari 365 GTB4 Daytona, which cost several times as much, yet struggled to accelerate any faster. In fact, for sheer straight-line performance, the LS6 was virtually unmatched on American roads. Visually, the Chevelle SS 454 LS6 carried all the menace you'd expect from a car of its stature. With its wide stance, muscular lines, and optional cowl induction hood, it projected an image of raw power that was impossible to ignore. Yet, despite its intimidating looks, it remained practical enough to serve as a daily driver, embodying the muscle car ethos of affordable performance accessible to the average enthusiast. The 1970 Chevelle SS 454 LS6 represented the high watermark of the muscle car era before emissions, regulations, and insurance surcharges began to choke performance. It was the perfect blend of style, speed, and muscle, capable of outrunning exotic European thoroughbreds while still serving as a family coupe. Today, it remains one of the most celebrated American performance cars ever built, a true supercar slayer from the streets of Detroit. Number 14. 1970 Plymouth Superbird 426 HEMI. The 1970 Plymouth Superbird was one of the wildest creations ever to come out of Detroit, and it exists as proof that muscle cars could not only be brutally fast, but also aerodynamically engineered to chase down European exotics. Built as a homologation special for NASCAR racing, the Superbird was essentially a Plymouth Roadrunner transformed into a wind-cheating missile with a nose cone and a massive rear wing that towered over its deck lid. On the street, this outrageous machine carried one of the most powerful engines of its era, the mighty 426 cubic inch HEMI V8. The HEMI engine was officially rated at 425 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque, but in reality, its true output was higher. That meant that the Superbird wasn't just a showpiece, it was a genuine performance machine that could go toe-to-toe with the best. In factory street trim, it could sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 5.5 seconds and cover the quarter mile in around 13.5 seconds. In 1970, that meant a car with cartoon Roadrunner decals could match or outrun European machines like the Ferrari 365 GT and Maserati Ghibli in a drag race. But straight-line performance was only part of the Superbird's story. On NASCAR tracks, where its aerodynamic bodywork was designed to shine, the HEMI-powered Superbird was capable of topping 200 miles per hour, numbers that supercars of the era couldn't dream of reaching. Drivers like Richard Petty turned the Superbird into a legend on the oval, and its dominance forced NASCAR to rewrite the rulebook to limit aero cars. On the street, however, the Superbird remained a spectacle, a car that looked like it had rolled straight out of a futuristic racing cartoon. Despite its racing pedigree and performance potential, the Superbird wasn't an easy sell to the general public. Its towering wing and long nose were too extreme for many buyers, and unsold cars even sat on dealer lots for years. Yet for those who embraced its radical design, the Superbird delivered supercar slaying acceleration and one of the most unique driving experiences available at the time. The 1970 Plymouth Superbird 426 HEMI remains one of the most iconic and collectible muscle cars ever built. It combined the brute strength of the HEMI engine with groundbreaking aerodynamics to create a machine that was faster than many of the world's most celebrated supercars. Today, its rarity, racing history, and outlandish styling make it not only a symbol of muscle car excess, but also one of the ultimate American supercar killers. Number 13. 1969 Ford Mustang Boss 429. The 1969 Ford Mustang Boss 429 was a car born out of necessity but remembered as one of the most legendary muscle machines ever built. Ford needed a vehicle that could homologate its massive new 429 cubic inch V8 for NASCAR competition, and the Mustang became the unlikely host for this monster engine. The result was one of the rarest and most exotic Mustangs of the muscle car era, a car that combined NASCAR engineering with street legality. The Boss 429 engine was unlike anything else Ford had offered in a street car before. It featured aluminum cylinder heads, a high-flow hemispherical combustion chamber design, and heavy-duty internals engineered to survive the stresses of racing at 200 miles per hour. Officially rated at 375 horsepower, most experts agree the true output was well over 500 horsepower when properly tuned. In fact, its potential far exceeded what factory tires, gearing, and emissions controls of the time could handle. On the street, the Boss 429 delivered performance that was both exhilarating and intimidating. Contemporary tests recorded 0 to 60 miles per hour, anywhere from 5.3 seconds to the mid-7-second range, depending on conditions and driver skill. Quarter-mile times averaged around 14 seconds in factory trim, but with better tires and minor tuning, the car could dip into the high 13s. While that may not sound earth-shattering compared to other muscle cars of the era, the Boss 429's reputation was more about untapped potential. It was a detuned race car masquerading as a street machine. Visually, the Boss 429 had subtle cues that hinted at its special nature. It featured widened shock towers and modified front-end geometry just to make the massive engine fit under the hood. The aggressive stance, functional hood scoop, and simple Boss 429 badging gave it an understated but menacing look. Unlike the flamboyant paint schemes of other muscle cars, the Boss carried a sense of quiet confidence. Those who knew understood what lurked beneath. Only 859 examples were built in 1969. Making it one of the rarest Mustangs ever produced. Today, the Boss 429 is regarded not only as one of the most collectible muscle cars, but also as one of the purest examples of American engineering muscle directed at supercar-level competition. It may not have been the quickest car right off the showroom floor, but its NASCAR-bred power plant gave it the credibility and potential to strike fear into the heart of any European exotic in a straight line. Number 12. 1969 Dodge Charger RT 426 HEMI. The 1969 Dodge Charger RT 426 HEMI was the epitome of brute American power, wrapped in one of the most stylish muscle car designs ever produced. The Charger had already gained fame through its appearances in movies and television, but the RT version, with the optional 426 cubic inch HEMI V8, transformed it into a true supercar slayer. It wasn't just a performance machine, it was a cultural icon that combined looks, presence, and devastating straight-line acceleration. At the heart of the Charger, RT sat Chrysler's legendary HEMI, officially rated at 425 horsepower and nearly 500 pound-feet of torque. Known as the Elephant for its massive size and weight, the HEMI was designed for racing and brought into limited production for the street. With dual 4-barrel carburetors feeding its hemispherical combustion chambers, the engine delivered relentless power at any speed. While Dodge quoted conservative numbers, real-world output often crept well beyond 500 horsepower. In terms of performance, the HEMI Charger was nothing short of ferocious. 0 to 60 miles per hour came in around 6 seconds flat, and the quarter mile was covered in the low 13-second range on stock tires. With better traction, skilled drivers could push the car into the high 12s, a figure that rivaled or surpassed European exotics like the Lamborghini Miura and Ferrari 365 GTB for Daytona. This meant that Dodge's full-size muscle coupe could leave some of the world's most revered sports cars struggling to keep up in a drag race. Visually, the Charger RT was as intimidating as its performance. Its long hood, aggressive hidden headlight grille, and fastback roofline gave it a sleek yet muscular stance. The RT badging, bold stripe packages, and optional performance trim made it clear that this was not just another family cruiser. It was as much about presence as it was about speed, and few cars of the 1960s commanded as much respect when rolling down Main Street. The 1969 Dodge Charger RT 426 HEMI remains one of the most sought-after muscle cars in history. It combined timeless design with a legendary engine to create a package that could dominate the drag strip while turning heads everywhere it went. More than half a century later, it still represents the height of Dodge's muscle car legacy, a car that proved Detroit could build machines faster than the so-called supercars from Europe. Number 11. 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner 440 6-barrel, a 12. The 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner 440 6-barrel, also known by its factory code A12, was one of the most surprising muscle cars ever to hit the streets. Plymouth had built the Roadrunner as a budget-friendly muscle car that focused on performance without unnecessary frills. But with the introduction of the A12 package, it became a legitimate supercar slayer. This was not just another big block Mopar, it was a carefully tuned street weapon that could embarrass even the mighty HEMI. Under its lift-off fiberglass hood sat the 440 cubic inch 6-barrel V8 topped with 3 Holley 2-barrel carburetors. Rated at 390 horsepower, the motor delivered ferocious torque and incredible mid-range punch. In reality, the 6-barrel made more power than advertised, with many owners reporting performance figures close to 425 horsepower. The engine's triple-carb setup allowed it to unleash a tidal wave of acceleration that rivaled Chrysler's own HEMI-powered machines. Performance figures told the story clearly. On stock tires, the A12 Roadrunner could run the quarter mile in 12.9 seconds at over 111 miles per hour, quicker than many factory HEMI cars tested under similar conditions. 0 to 60 miles per hour came in the low 5-second range, putting the Roadrunner ahead of European legends like the Lamborghini Miura and Ferrari 365 GT of the era. For a stripped-down car that cost a fraction of those exotics, the A12 package was the very definition of muscle car value. The A12 cars were not built for luxury, they were pure performance machines. They came with a lift-off fiberglass hood secured by pins, heavy-duty suspension, and steel wheels wrapped in performance rubber. Plymouth deliberately kept the interior simple and functional, focusing all engineering effort on making the car faster. This bare-bones approach embodied the true spirit of American muscle, affordable, fast, and built to win at the drag strip. The 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner 440 6-barrel A12 remains one of the most respected Mopars of all time. It was proof that you didn't need to buy the top-tier HEMI to own one of the quickest muscle cars on the road. In straight-line performance, it humbled exotic sports cars and even shocked its domestic rivals, earning its place as a true supercar killer. Today, collectors prize the A12 Roadrunner not only for its rarity, but for the legacy it left as one of the most fearsome straight-line machines Detroit ever produced. Number 10. 1969 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 427. The 1969 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 was a car shrouded in legend, built not for the average street buyer, but for racers who demanded nothing less than the ultimate weapon. Ordered through Chevrolet's Copo program, the ZL1 was a special Camaro stuffed with an all-aluminum 427 cubic inch big block V8, an engine originally developed for Can-Am racing. With only 69 ever built, it became one of the rarest and most powerful Camaros of all time. The ZL1 engine was officially rated at 430 horsepower, but everyone knew that figure was intentionally understated. In reality, the ZL1 was putting out well over 500 horsepower in factory trim, with some dyno tests showing closer to 550. The engine was exotic by American standards, lighter than the traditional iron big blocks, but just as durable and tuned for competition-level performance. This meant the ZL1 wasn't just a Camaro with a big engine, it was a Camaro with a race engine under its hood. Performance was astonishing. On skinny stock tires, the ZL1 could run the quarter mile in the low 13-second range at more than 110 miles per hour. With headers, slicks, and minor tuning, the car dropped into the 11s, with trap speeds exceeding 120 miles per hour. That made it one of the quickest accelerating production cars in the world in 1969. For comparison, the Ferrari 365 GTB4 Daytona needed over 5 seconds to hit 60, while the ZL1 could launch to 60 in around 5.3 seconds and destroy the quarter mile. The Camaro wasn't just fast, it was embarrassingly faster than some of the most expensive European supercars of its era. Yet the ZL1 wasn't without its quirks. It cost nearly twice as much as a regular Camaro SS, which limited its appeal to casual buyers. Many of the cars sat on dealer lots for months before finding homes, as only serious racers understood the value of its aluminum engine. But for those who did buy one, the ZL1 delivered exactly what it promised: a street-legal race car capable of outrunning anything else on the road. The 1969 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 427 remains one of the ultimate expressions of muscle car philosophy. It was brutally fast, extremely rare, and purpose-built to annihilate competition. In a decade filled with legendary Detroit iron, the ZL1 stood out as the Camaro that didn't just match supercars, it surpassed them in raw, unfiltered acceleration. Number 9. 1968 Ford Mustang 428 Cobra Jet. The 1968 Ford Mustang 428 Cobra Jet was a car that redefined what the Mustang could be, transforming it from a stylish pony car into a full-fledged muscle car capable of humiliating some of the world's finest exotics. The Cobra Jet was revealed in dramatic fashion at the 1968 NHRA Winter Nationals, where specially prepared cars shocked crowds by running deep into the 11s, instantly proving the Mustang's new credentials as a straight-line monster. At its core was the 7-liter 428 cubic inch Cobra Jet V8, a power plant officially underrated at 335 horsepower, but in reality producing well over 400. Ford deliberately kept the numbers conservative to keep insurance companies at bay, but anyone who lined up against one knew the truth. With massive torque and a specially designed induction system, the engine delivered explosive acceleration from a dead stop. Even in street trim, the Cobra Jet was brutally fast. Independent testing showed 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 5.5 seconds, while the quarter mile could be dispatched in 13.5 seconds at over 100 miles per hour. In tuned NHRA form, the same setup easily ripped off quarter miles in the low 11s, numbers that put it in the league of race-bred machinery. Against European exotics like the Ferrari 365 GT 2+2 or even the Lamborghini Miura, the Cobra Jet's ability to leap off the line was staggering. At stoplight duels, few supercars of the late 1960s could match its sheer ferocity. Visually, the Cobra Jet Mustangs carried the same iconic fastback or coupe body styles that made the Mustang famous, but small cues hinted at its potency. Ram Air hood scoops, aggressive striping, and Cobra Jet badging gave just enough warning to those in the know. Yet, for many onlookers, it looked like any other Mustang, making its sudden burst of speed all the more shocking. The 1968 Ford Mustang 428 Cobra Jet remains a landmark in muscle car history. It represented Ford's decision to take the Mustang beyond being just a stylish cruiser and push it into the realm of serious muscle performance. Capable of defeating Ferraris and Lamborghinis in a straight line, it earned its place as one of the great American supercar killers. Today, it stands as one of the most celebrated Mustangs ever built, a machine that perfectly embodied Detroit's philosophy of horsepower above all else. Number 8. 1968 Dodge Dart HEMI Superstock. The 1968 Dodge Dart HEMI Superstock was one of the most outrageous factory drag cars ever unleashed on the public. It wasn't designed for comfort, styling flair, or mass appeal. It was built with one purpose in mind: to dominate the quarter mile. Dodge engineers took the compact A-body Dart, which was never intended to house a massive big block, and stuffed in Chrysler's fearsome 426 cubic inch HEMI V8. The result was a car so raw and uncompromising that it became a legend virtually overnight. The HEMI engine in the Dart Superstock was officially rated at 425 horsepower, but just like other HEMI cars of the era, its true output was far greater, closer to 500 horsepower in reality. With aluminum front-end panels, lightweight components, and a stripped-down interior, the Dart tipped the scales at roughly 3,000 pounds, giving it an incredible power-to-weight ratio. This combination meant that very few cars, regardless of price or pedigree, could hope to match it in a drag race. Performance numbers were nothing short of astonishing. In stock form, the Dart HEMI Superstock ran the quarter mile in just over 11 seconds, making it one of the quickest accelerating production-based cars in the world at the time. With tuning and proper drag slicks, racers regularly pushed these cars into the 10-second bracket, speeds that put them well beyond the reach of Ferrari, Lamborghini, or Maserati models of the late 1960s. This wasn't simply a muscle car, it was essentially a factory-built race car that happened to carry a VIN number. Visually, the Dart HEMI Superstock gave away its purpose. The lightweight fiberglass hood featured a massive scoop to feed the hungry HEMI, while inside, the car was devoid of luxury features, no radio, no heater, and no sound deadening. Every ounce saved was another advantage on the drag strip. The car was delivered to racers who knew exactly what they were buying, a turnkey drag weapon engineered by Chrysler's best minds. Only about 50 examples of the 1968 Dodge Dart HEMI Superstock were built, making it not only one of the fastest, but also one of the rarest factory muscle cars ever produced. It represented the extreme edge of what Detroit was willing to offer, and it cemented Dodge's reputation as a company unafraid to push boundaries. More than half a century later, the HEMI Dart remains one of the most feared straight-line machines of its era, a true American supercar killer. Number 7. 1967 Chevrolet Corvette L88 427. The 1967 Chevrolet Corvette L88 was one of the most fearsome muscle cars ever unleashed by General Motors, and it came disguised as a street car. While it wore the familiar lines of the Corvette Stingray, the L88 was far more than a stylish sports coupe. It was a purpose-built weapon created with racing in mind, and Chevrolet made no attempt to hide the fact that it wasn't designed for casual weekend driving. Only a handful of buyers were brave enough to tame it, and those who did discovered that they owned one of the quickest American cars of the decade. At the heart of the L88 was an all-business 427 cubic inch V8. Chevrolet officially rated it at 430 horsepower, but insiders knew that figure was grossly underrated. In reality, with its 12.5-to-1 compression ratio, massive 4-barrel carburetor, and racing-bred internals, the L88 was making well over 500 horsepower. This wasn't a comfortable street engine, it was designed to run on high-octane racing fuel, and Chevrolet strongly advised owners not to use it as a daily driver. When unleashed on the drag strip, the L88 delivered staggering results. On open exhaust and with proper race tires, a stock L88 Corvette could tear through the quarter mile in the mid to high 11-second range at trap speeds that rivaled purpose-built drag cars. 0 to 60 miles per hour came in the low 4-second bracket, which made the Corvette faster than virtually any Ferrari, Maserati, or Porsche of the late 1960s. Few cars in the world could launch as hard or accelerate as ferociously as the L88 when properly set up. Chevrolet made sure only serious racers got their hands on one by stripping away creature comforts. Air conditioning, radios, and heater delete options were mandatory, and the car came with heavy-duty suspension, a transistorized ignition, and an upgraded cooling system. This wasn't a Corvette for cruising down the boulevard, it was for crossing the finish line first. Its subtle L88 badges didn't scream about its power, but those who lined up next to one quickly learned what it was capable of. Only 20 of these beasts were built in 1967, making it one of the rarest and most collectible Corvettes ever produced. The Chevrolet Corvette L88 wasn't just a muscle car, it was a race car, thinly disguised for the street, a machine that could out-accelerate the finest supercars in the world. Today, it remains a legend, remembered as one of the rawest and most powerful expressions of American muscle ever to roll out of Detroit. Number 6. 1965 Dodge Coronet A990 HEMI. The 1965 Dodge Coronet A990 HEMI was a no-compromise drag racer built for one reason only, to dominate the quarter mile. This car was part of Chrysler's direct assault on the NHRA Superstock class, where manufacturers were battling for supremacy on the strip. To make the Coronet competitive, Dodge engineers created the A990 package, which combined lightweight construction with Chrysler's most fearsome engine, the brand new 426 cubic inch Race HEMI. The Race HEMI was a brutal piece of machinery. Officially rated at 425 horsepower, its true output was much higher, often estimated at well over 500 horsepower. Equipped with dual Holley 4-barrel carburetors, high-compression pistons, and race-spec internals, it was essentially a competition engine dropped into a factory-built car. Chrysler left no doubt about its intentions by stripping down the Coronet A990 to the bare essentials, replacing steel panels with aluminum and acid-dipping body parts to shed weight. The results were staggering. In the hands of skilled drivers, the Coronet A990 HEMI blasted from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 5 seconds flat and tore through the quarter mile in the low 11-second range at speeds exceeding 120 miles per hour. In 1965, those figures weren't just impressive, they were almost unbelievable. No European exotic, not even the Ferrari 275 GTB or Lamborghini 350 GT, could touch the Dodge's straight-line fury. The Coronet wasn't refined, but it didn't need to be. It was built to win races, and in that arena, it was untouchable. Visually, the A990 Coronet gave away its purpose. Hood scoops, lightweight bumpers, and simple steel wheels made it clear that this was no ordinary Dodge. Inside, luxuries were stripped to the minimum, no sound deadening, no frills, and in many cases even radio and heater deletes. The message was clear: every ounce that wasn't helping the car go faster had no place in the build. Only a small number of A990 Coronets were ever produced, making them exceedingly rare and highly sought after by collectors. But their importance goes beyond rarity. They symbolize a time when Detroit was willing to put drag racing dominance above all else. The 1965 Dodge Coronet A990 HEMI was essentially a street-legal dragster, one of the most fearsome muscle machines of its era, and a car that could run quicker than many of the so-called supercars of the world. Number 5. 1965 Shelby Cobra 427. The 1965 Shelby Cobra 427 was not just a muscle car, it was a bare-knuckle brawler that terrified even the most exotic supercars of its day. Carroll Shelby's vision was simple: take the lightweight British AC Ace chassis and shoehorn in the most powerful American V8 Ford could provide. The result was the Cobra 427, a machine that defined raw speed and unfiltered driving. With almost no driver aids, minimal creature comforts, and an oversized engine, it was as dangerous as it was thrilling. Under the hood sat Ford's massive 427 cubic inch big block V8, conservatively rated at 485 horsepower, but in reality producing well over 500. With aluminum intake manifolds, twin 4-barrel carburetors, and a chassis that weighed barely 2,400 pounds, the Cobra 427 had a power-to-weight ratio that eclipsed nearly everything else on the road: 0.5. This wasn't a car that eased you into speed, it catapulted you into it with brutal force. Performance figures bordered on the unbelievable for the mid-1960s. Independent tests recorded 0 to 60 miles per hour in just over 4 seconds, and quarter-mile passes in the 12-second range at trap speeds of 118 miles per hour. These numbers meant the Cobra could out-accelerate the Lamborghini Miura, the Ferrari 275 GTB, and even the mighty Corvette of its era. In fact, for many years, the Cobra 427 held the reputation as the quickest accelerating production car in the world. Its looks matched its performance. The wide fender flares, fat tires, and side exit exhaust gave the Cobra an aggressive stance that was both beautiful and intimidating. Inside, however, there was nothing luxurious, just bare essentials: a thin steering wheel, bucket seats, and a few gauges. Shelby built this car for speed, not comfort, and it wore that mission proudly. Those who dared to drive one on the street found themselves piloting a car that was both exhilarating and terrifying in equal measure. The 1965 Shelby Cobra 427 has since become one of the most revered performance icons of all time. It wasn't just faster than many supercars, it obliterated them in straight-line sprints. More importantly, it embodied the raw spirit of American muscle by proving that brute force and simplicity could overcome elegance and sophistication. Today, the Cobra 427 remains a legend, forever remembered as the car that proved America could build something faster and meaner than Europe's finest. Number 4. 1964 Ford Fairlane Thunderbolt 427. The 1964 Ford Fairlane Thunderbolt was not just another muscle car, it was a factory-built drag racer disguised as a mid-size sedan. Born out of Ford's determination to dominate NHRA Superstock competition, the Thunderbolt was engineered with one purpose: to win. Based on the plain Fairlane body, it was stripped of unnecessary features, lightened with fiberglass panels, and fitted with the most powerful engine Ford could offer. The result was a car so extreme that it blurred the line between a street car and a dedicated race machine. At the heart of the Thunderbolt was Ford's mighty 427 cubic inch high-riser V8, officially rated at 425 horsepower. With dual Holley 4-barrel carburetors, aluminum intake, and race-oriented internals, its real output was far beyond the published figures, closer to 500 horsepower in reality. The engine bay of the Fairlane was barely large enough to contain it, requiring modifications just to make it fit. Once installed, the Thunderbolt became one of the most formidable quarter-mile cars of its time. Performance was staggering for 1964. Independent tests recorded quarter-mile times in the 11.6 to 11.8 second range at speeds over 120 miles per hour. 0 to 60 miles per hour came in the mid 4-second bracket, figures that no Ferrari, Maserati, or Jaguar of the era could touch. In fact, the Thunderbolt was so dominant that many supercars of the early 1960s seemed tame by comparison when it came to raw acceleration. For drag racing, there was simply nothing else like it. Visually, the Thunderbolt gave little away beyond its hood scoop and lightweight construction. It looked more like a stripped-down Fairlane than a glamorous muscle car, but that was part of its charm. It was a sleeper that could destroy anything lined up against it. Inside, amenities were non-existent. No sound deadening, no luxuries, just the essentials for racing. Buyers who ordered one knew they were getting a car designed to dominate the strip, not cruise the boulevard. Only 100 Thunderbolts were built, all intended for serious racers rather than casual drivers. This rarity, combined with its unmatched performance, has made it one of the most legendary factory drag cars in history. The 1964 Ford Fairlane Thunderbolt 427 proved that Detroit could build a car capable of humiliating Europe's finest, cementing its legacy as a true American supercar slayer. Number 3. 1964 Pontiac GTO 389. The 1964 Pontiac GTO 389 is widely credited with sparking the golden era of muscle cars, and it earned that reputation by offering supercar-level performance at a fraction of the cost. Before the GTO, the idea of taking a mid-size car and stuffing it with a massive high-performance engine wasn't standard practice, it was revolutionary. Pontiac engineers, led by John DeLorean, Bill Collins, and Russ Gee, saw an opportunity to take the mid-size Tempest and create something entirely new. What they built was a machine that would set Detroit on fire and terrify European exotics in stoplight duels. The heart of the GTO was the 389 cubic inch V8. Buyers could opt for the tri-power setup, which added 3 2-barrel carburetors, pushing the rated output to 348 horsepower. That kind of power in a relatively affordable mid-size car was unheard of at the time. With a 4-speed manual transmission and aggressive gearing, the GTO had the muscle to take on far more expensive sports cars. Pontiac downplayed the official numbers, but on the street, the car's performance spoke for itself. Performance testing proved it wasn't just hype. The GTO could sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just under 7 seconds and cover the quarter mile in about 14.5 seconds. Those numbers placed it firmly in the same league as European performance icons like the Jaguar E-Type and Ferrari 250 GT of the early 1960s. For American buyers, the idea that they could purchase a car that could keep pace with exotic thoroughbreds while carrying passengers and luggage was groundbreaking. The GTO wasn't simply fast for the money, it was flat-out fast, period. Visually, the GTO carried subtle cues that set it apart from the Tempest, including hood scoops, sporty badging, and optional rally wheels. Inside, buyers could choose from luxury touches like bucket seats and wood trim, giving the car a dual personality. It could be both a family-friendly daily driver and a tire-smoking drag racer. That versatility helped the GTO reach a wide audience, fueling its popularity and cementing its place in history. The 1964 Pontiac GTO 389 didn't just outrun supercars, it created a whole new class of automobile. It proved that American muscle could stand shoulder to shoulder with European legends, using brute force and affordability as its weapons. More than half a century later, the GTO is still remembered as the car that lit the fuse, launching an era where Detroit would dominate in raw, straight-line performance. Number 2. 1963 Chevrolet Impala Z11 427. The 1963 Chevrolet Impala Z11 was one of the most formidable factory-built drag machines of its time, created during the peak of the muscle car horsepower wars. Chevrolet engineers designed it specifically to give racers a competitive edge in NHRA Superstock competition, and it quickly gained a reputation as one of the fastest full-size cars ever unleashed. Based on the Impala two-door sport coupe, the Z11 looked relatively unassuming from the outside, but under its skin, it was an entirely different beast. At the heart of the Z11 was a special 427 cubic inch big block V8, built with lightweight internals, a high-rise aluminum intake, and dual 4-barrel carburetors. Officially rated at 430 horsepower, its true output was closer to 500. This engine was a purpose-built racing motor, designed not for highway cruising, but for tearing down the quarter mile. Combined with aluminum body panels, thinner glass, and lightweight components, the Z11 shed hundreds of pounds compared to a standard Impala. The results were spectacular. Independent tests recorded 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 4.3 seconds, an astonishing figure for a full-sized American car of the early 1960s. The quarter mile came in the low 12-second range at over 120 miles per hour, making it quicker than nearly any European exotic of the time. To put that in perspective, Ferrari's flagship 250 GT Berlinetta Lusso of the same period needed over 7 seconds to reach 60, while the Chevrolet Impala Z11 could rocket past in nearly half the time. It was a supercar killer disguised as a family coupe. From the outside, the Z11 gave only subtle hints of its true capabilities. The car looked like a standard Impala, but a cowl induction hood and purposeful stance betrayed its intentions. Inside, luxuries were stripped away in favor of saving weight, leaving a car that was all business. Chevrolet didn't market the Z11 to the average buyer. It was intended for serious racers who knew exactly what they were getting. Only about 57 examples were ever produced, making the Z11 extremely rare and highly collectible today. The 1963 Chevrolet Impala Z11 427 represented the moment when Chevrolet took the gloves off and built a car capable of embarrassing Ferraris, Maseratis, and Jaguars on the drag strip. It was the definition of American brute force, proving that even a full-size car from Detroit could be faster than the world's most celebrated supercars. Number 1. 1962 Pontiac Catalina 421 Super Duty. The 1962 Pontiac Catalina 421 Super Duty was one of the first true American factory-built drag racing specials, and it set the tone for the muscle car wars that would dominate the decade. At a time when most cars from Detroit were still focused on comfort and style, Pontiac's engineers decided to push the boundaries by creating a car that could not just compete on the strip, but dominate it. The Catalina Super Duty was built with performance as its only goal, and in doing so, it proved that American muscle could outrun the best Europe had to offer. Under the hood sat Pontiac's massive 421 cubic inch V8, specially prepared in Super Duty trim. Fitted with dual 4-barrel carburetors, a high-lift camshaft, and heavy-duty internals, the engine produced over 400 horsepower, though actual figures were often much higher. Pontiac also offered lightweight aluminum components, including fenders, bumpers, and even a hood, to strip precious pounds from the Catalina, making it far quicker off the line. The performance figures were jaw-dropping for the early 1960s. In skilled hands, the Catalina 421 Super Duty could blast through the quarter mile in the low 12-second range, with some racers recording times as quick as 11.8 seconds at over 120 miles per hour. That made it faster in a straight line than virtually every European supercar of the era, including icons like the Ferrari 250 GT and the Aston Martin DB4 GT. For context, most of those cars took over 7 seconds just to reach 60 miles per hour, while the Pontiac could cover that distance in nearly half the time. The Catalina's looks didn't scream race car, but subtle details hinted at its purpose. Hood scoops, lightweight wheels, and a purposeful stance differentiated it from the typical family sedans Pontiac sold at the time. Inside, it was stripped down to business, reminding drivers that this wasn't about luxury, it was about winning races. Buyers who managed to get their hands on one of these rare machines weren't getting just a car, they were getting a factory-built weapon designed to embarrass anything that dared to line up against it. The 1962 Pontiac Catalina 421 Super Duty was more than just fast, it was a turning point. It showed the world that Detroit could build cars capable of outperforming the most celebrated European exotics in a straight line. It marked the beginning of the Super Duty legacy and set the stage for the muscle car explosion that followed. Today, it is remembered as one of the original American supercar killers, a machine that put Pontiac firmly on the performance map.